We looked last week and we saw that, as I said, some people say that Jesus never claimed to be God in the flesh. And yet we've seen a number of times where, because the Jews understood that that was exactly what he was claiming, they were wanting to stone him. And that is not, if nothing else, that's a good indication of what people understood him to be at that particular time. And Jesus it's difficult for us to know who God is and what God's like. And Jesus is the way that we come to some sort of knowledge of God. In him we see a reflection of who God is, and his attitudes towards man, and his attitudes towards us, and his love for us. Being willing to allow his Son to take our place is no easy decision to make, and he knew that we needed all the help we could get. And so Jesus, not only did God love us, but Jesus loved us as well, being prepared to go through that for each one of us. So last week we left you with a statement that Jesus said, before Abraham was, I am. And as Frank pointed out, and we talked about, the I am is the Ego Eimi, it's the special, unique name, if you like, for God. And you've seen here in Exodus chapter 3, 14, 15, the I am. So God, in Moses going off to take on the Pharaoh of Egypt, who was very familiar with gods. He was surrounded by gods. The Nile was his god, the sun was his god. Practically everything that moved, and even some of the things that didn't move, were described as gods at some place in their life. From the simple scarab little creepy beetle to all sorts of stuff, the mighty crocodiles, everything. The Egyptians had somehow made into some sort of god and were prepared to worship. And then, of course, you remember the story where Moses walks into Pharaoh's presence, surrounded by all his opulence and his excellence and his guards and everything, and he says, let my people go. And he says, who are you? My God says, let my people go. And who's your God? I've got loads of other gods, you know. Who's your God? Amongst all the, is your God greater than my God? You can almost see Pharaoh's mind going through, who is this guy? Where does he come from? What rock has he crawled out from under? And so he decides, I'm not going to let your people go. I don't believe your God has any power in Egypt. We've got gods far more powerful than your God, so push off, basically. And so God sends him a little 10-lesson correspondence course in which the Pharaoh realizes who is the one who has power. And in understanding finally, even when his own son had to die, that this was a God to be reckoned with, he allowed the people to go. But even just after that, he decides, well, I don't want to do that, really, because there's all my free labour. Who's going to build my cities? Who's going to do all the free work that I had going for him over the last couple of 100 years? I get them people back, or better still, just wipe them out. If they're not working for me, they're not working for anybody. And so he sends his army over, and then God, in a final demonstration of power, allows the river to see the sea to separate. And God's people, through Moses, walks through on dry land, and the mighty Egyptian army coming after things, well, they can do that. We can do that. And they get so far across, and God says, there you go. And that took care of them. So the awesome God, the almighty God, the God who I am, the God who delivered his people from Israel, from Egypt, is the same God who in Jesus Christ delivers us from sin.
His name's Am, isn't it? Not I am.
Am? That's really I am. Well, Ego Eimi. I am. It's two different words in the Hebrew and in the Greek. Ego Eimi. In the Hebrew, you've got a better word, or a different word, the Yahweh, W-H-V-H, Yahweh. This is what they call a tetragrammaton, which they didn't have vowels, so they just had these four consonants standing beside. And that really meant, I am the becoming one. I am the one, whatever you need, I will be the one who will meet that need, basically. That's a rough translation of the Hebrew. But that's the idea. And that was one word. That was a mighty word. That was a word where later on, the Hebrews were so afraid of that word that they wouldn't write it down. or if they did write it down, what they did, they would take the normal pen they would write with up to that point, and they put that one down, and they take a special pen and special ink and write YHVH, the Tetragrammaton. That's God's name. That's the name nobody should pronounce. Nobody should. So it actually then became lost in time. Nobody knew how to pronounce it. And then a man called Galatinus in the 15th century, he put together a couple of other names for God, Adonai and the plural, put those two together, and he ended up with, he was German, so he ended up with Jehovah. He wasn't German. He was Italian. He ended up with Jehovah. And he did that around the time that, for example, the authorized version would just be printed, and some other Bibles would be printed. So from that time till about this, really up until about 1900s, always when you saw the Old Testament Hebrew name for God, you were looking at the word Jehovah. And then the Jehovah's Witnesses come around knocking the door, and they say, God, you don't know God's name. God has only one name. The name, and you don't use it. His name is Jehovah, they would say. And if you don't use the word Jehovah, there's something wrong with you. Of course, they didn't realize it was a made-up word in the 15th century. And so they got it wrong, because nobody knew how to pronounce the name, the Tetragrammaton. But in real terms, the Tetragrammaton probably, most commonly, and especially in the 1901 American Standard Version, it started to be seen as Yahweh, Y-A-W-H-E-V. H-V-A. Yeah, anyway, one of them. But anyway, the 1900s. So most people now recognize that that's more likely the proper name